Hello, this is Wanker Reviews, and I'll be doing a video on Halloween 2018 starring Jamie Lee Curtis. And this movie takes place 40 years after the original movie from the 1970s. And it's about Laurie Strode preparing for combat for when Michael finally escapes from the insane asylum. And she's hoping that he does so she can finally get her revenge. She even goes as far as to get her daughter, like she trains her daughter from a young age in order to prepare for the inevitable. And this does put a strain on their relationship. Now I have to say that I was actually really looking forward to watching this. This was the #1 movie I really wanted to see. I really do like the Halloween series. I think it's much better than Friday the 13th. And I have to say I am very disappointed. There's not really too much that I liked about this movie. It's not a terrible movie, but like the acting is great. The characters, like most of the characters are likable for the most part. I thought Jabril Nantambu, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, I thought he was a shining star in this movie. He's a new child actor, and he's very talented, and he has great comedic timing, and he's very young. Like, I can see him rising to the top and making a name for himself. I thought he was probably the most likable character in this whole movie, like, and he has very little screen time, just to put that out there. Also, the movie's not boring. It's an okay movie. I mean, if you're a huge Halloween fan, I would recommend it. But I did have a lot of gripes with this. Uh, I first had a really huge gripe with Laurie Strode. Like the trailers and the movie, like the build-up of the movie, really made it seem like she was, like she was like the next Kill Bill. Like she was prepared to whoop some ass. And she was always training, like practicing her shooting and on random targets and near her home. And she was just like she was ready to put in work. But when it came down to it, she didn't really deliver. Like I'm not going to give too much away, but it was very lackluster. And they build you up to this being like this huge finale between her and Michael, but it's very, like, it doesn't give you what you were hoping for. Like, I left the movie feeling like numb. Like I just didn't really have too many feelings about this movie, negative or positive. Another gripe that I had was the killings in this movie. Like, a lot of people die in this movie, but there's very little suspense. And also, a lot of the killings are off camera. So really, for half the movie, you only see the aftermath of what happens. And I feel like that I can appreciate them trying something different. I can appreciate them trying to do something different because this is a new thing that like, this isn't very typical of the Halloween movies. Like, if you've seen all the Halloween movies, you see every kill, you don't just see the aftermath. And this is what's very different about this movie compared to the others. And that's something I didn't really like. I felt like that took a lot of suspense away. I wanted to see people die. I didn't just want to see the aftermath of what happened. Like, I wanted to actually see what was going on. But I did like the fact that it wasn't exploitive in the violence, because if you look at Rob Zombie's movies, those are very violent, very exploitive. They treat their characters like they're disposable, which they are disposable. They're just there to be killed. And it's very, like, graphic and violent. And I did like the first Rob Zombie movie, so I'm not going to completely bash that. But I did like the fact that this wasn't torture porn, unlike the Rob Zombie movies. but the killings were very lackluster because there's so few of the killings that are on screen, because for the most part all the murders that we do see, they're off camera. And to me, I was very disappointed in that. I was also disappointed in the fact that they copied, like, a lot of the kills in this movie rip off other Halloween movies. Like, they don't come up with their own original way of killing people. Like, they literally ripped off a couple of the kills from the first original Halloween movie from 1978, and also the sequel of the original sequel of Halloween, I think that was in 1982. They literally took scenes from those two movies and put them in here and just recreated those scenes. So that also took a lot of attention away, because if you are a Halloween fan and you have seen the originals, you know what's gonna happen. So you know what's gonna happen, and because they ripped off other movies, and I thought that was, I don't know, that was sort of a slap in the face. Like, you guys were too lazy to come up with your own thing. Like, this isn't even supposed to be a remake. This is supposed to be its own thing, like 40 years later. At least that's what I thought. But they're just taking kills from other movies. Also, I know I said before that I liked I liked the fact that these kills weren't exploitive. But I don't know, a lot of these kills didn't even make sense. Like, in the original movies, the kills made more sense. I don't know how to explain it without giving spoilers, but in this movie, like, Michael is really just killing people just to kill them, instead of killing them for a purpose or in order to gain something. Like, he's really just killing off neighbors in this movie, like house to house, one by one. Whereas in the other movies, there's an actual purpose. Like, he targets Laurie's friends in the original and even in other remakes because they're connected to Laurie. Like, he's not just out murdering, random people walking around. Like, he has an actual purpose. He's not like Jason Voorhees. I feel like Michael, like when he kills, he does it in order to gain something. Like, he does it to steal someone's clothes. He does it because they're somehow connected to Laurie. He does it because he's trying to find information about who his main target is and killing off people who are connected to her. And I think random killings could work, but in this movie it didn't. He was just mindlessly killing people just for the hell of it. And I know that in the second movie from 1982, like, even those, he does like one random killing just for the hell of it, but all the other killings he does, he's literally just killing off different people in the hospital in order to get Laurie Strode alone. But in this movie, he's just walking around killing people. And for me, that's not who Michael is. Like, Michael is someone who does something for a purpose. Like, he has an end goal. He's not just some mindless zombie. There was this one scene in the movie that did have potential to have a lot of suspense, and that was the motion sensor scene. I'm not going to go too much into detail on that because I don't want to ruin it, but like, this one character is like outside of someone's house, and the house has like a motion detector where the lights turn on around the house, and the lights turn on around the house whenever someone moves, and this involves this one character and Michael, and this scene really could have been awesome if they had done a better job with it. Like, this was wasted potential. And it was pretty creepy. Like, it did have its creepy moments, but I don't know, it could have been a lot better. One more major problem that I had was the humor. There was another scene that could have been very intense, but it loses its suspense, and it, like, you're really on edge on the scene, and the scene is ruined because of this unnecessary humor that's put in there. Like, I don't mind some humor in horror movies. Like, it's a great way to get you to like the characters and to care about the characters. But when you put humor that in the movie where you're supposed to be scared, and you turn it into a comedy almost, it deflates any kind of tension that was being built. And that's a thing that a lot of horror movies have done. They use humor too much. They don't know when to cut back. Like a character can be funny at one time, but when shit gets real, you can cut back on that humor 100% and make the scene scary. So that was a problem that I had. Should we stop making? I really think they should just stop making Halloween movies, because I don't think they're ever going to get it right. I honestly think they should have just stopped after 1982, because, yeah, the original is going to be the best one, and there's really just nothing else they can do with this series, because it's just a hot mess, and no one seems to know what they're doing. And that's all I have to say about that. I would give this a 5 out of 10. Yeah, 5 out of 10. This was pretty disappointing. It's not a terrible movie, but it was very disappointing. And yeah, they should just stop making movies.